welcome to episode number 41 of the Brave Widow Show. Today, I speak with Marie Scott, and Marie is a lovely person, and I can't wait for you to hear some of the things that she had to share. Let me introduce you to Marie. She is the creator and founder of Happy and Healthy After Widowhood. She is a best-selling author, speaker, and functional medicine health coach. After losing her beloved husband, Dave, after 30 years, along with her mom in the same year, it set her on a path to not only heal herself, but to find her mission and purpose for life part 2, helping other widows and widowers to be happy and healthy after widowhood. Today, I talk with Marie about how to rebuild this next part of your life and some of the things that she has seen that's worked well, some of the tips, some of the pitfalls. And for those of you maybe like me who were spoiled and had your husband cook everything for you, she also has some really encouraging news about this cookbook that she's working on that will help even the newbies to cooking and their cooking skills and allow you to cook for one person or 20 people. So let's dive right in. Welcome to the Brave Widow podcast. I'm your host, Emily Jones. We help young widows heal their heart, find hope, and dream again for the future. Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Brave Widow Show. And today I have Marie Scott here with me. And Marie has done a lot of things and she has a lot of great insight and wisdom to share with us today. So Marie, why don't you tell us, the audience, a little bit about who you are, your background, what you do, and maybe where they can find you.
Thank you, Emily. Pleasure to be here with you today. 5 years ago, I never would have dreamed life would have taken me down this path. 5 years ago, I lost the beloved love of my life for 30 years, retired Captain William David Scott, and he died peacefully in my arms at home from esophageal cancer, which they call one of the firefighters' cancer. And so it started one of the most devastating chapters of my life. And probably for the first year and a half, I was in shock. It was like doing everything with your soulmate and doing everything from how do I retire to what are our goals and plans for the future and growing old together and traveling the world. And it's like everything is shattered. And it's, what do you do now? What the heck do you do now? And the shock that came with that was just incredible. In fact, it was about 7 or 8 months after Dave died that I actually caught myself laughing out loud. And I had to do a double take. I thought, what the heck is that noise? And I realized that it wasn't the sound of my laughter. It's about getting over the guilt of laughing alone. He wasn't by my side anymore. And about a year later, I decided to go back to school to learn more about food as medicine. And I'm an avid chef. I love to cook. I love to feed people. That's the Italian in me. And I lost my mom the same year as I lost Dave. So it was a double whammy on the stress scale. And she died of Alzheimer's. And I knew that there was a link between nutrition and Alzheimer's and for sure nutrition and cancer. So I went back to school to learn more about those links and became a certified functional medicine health coach and healed myself, my mind, body, and spirit. And that led me to my life and purpose for life part 2 of embracing the life again and writing a book, 3 published books now. 4th one is a cookbook, cooking with a side of Kleenex. But I don't think I can use the word Kleenex. I'm talking with Kimberly Clark and we're seeing what can we do besides that. Somebody suggested a tear mopper up or some silly things like that. But humor for sure has been a big part of my emotional healing and also led me to the second great love of my life. We got married January 2022. So it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. All of the things that you've done on the other side of losing your person. And like you said, navigating those waters of, oh, I feel guilty for laughing. I feel guilty for having joy. Does that mean I don't love him anymore? I'm supposed to be sad. And I'm sure you got all kinds of comments from people one way or another about things, but but you've published some books. You're making a great impact out there. And I think that you should tell Kleenex brand, this is free advertising for them. So you should be allowed to use
Not that they need advertising, right? But yes, it's been an amazing journey. I also spent 30 years in technology. I worked for Oracle and traveled the world. And when Dave died, I traveled because of the perks. We basically traveled around the world on points, stayed in every top hotel on points. And I stopped. I said, why am I traveling? I don't need the point anymore. I don't need the perks. There's nobody to travel with. So that's when I retired from this amazing career and branched out into what I'm doing today. today, being a health coach and also a grief coach and a published author. So I really love helping other widows and widowers realize that they can be happy and healthy after widowhood.
Oh, I love that so much. And so I know people that who can't even fathom being happy again and rebuilding their life in that second phase that are 6 months out. And I know people who are 10 years out that are still just in this sorrow and despair, and they're having a really hard time figuring out how they're going to move in that direction. So, what do you
Mhm.
tell people? I mean, how do you go from feeling guilty to hearing yourself laugh just 7, 8 months later to all of these amazing things that you've accomplished? What is the path to getting there?
It was a desire and a knowing that Dave wanted me to embrace life again. And it was his biggest concern. And he told all of his friends, he goes, I really want Marie to embrace life again and not wallow in despair the rest of her life because I'm gone. And Emily, it took a long time. It really took a long time. And from being a very strong, independent woman to collapsing in a puddle of tears in the walk-in closet, that was my favorite spot. We all have favorite spots where we have the meltdowns, right? But to go from constantly emotional and not being able to deal with life at all to rising above it and making myself stronger and healing myself and getting off all of my prescription meds when I became a health coach and losing 30 pounds, I think that really helped my self-confidence. So being able to help others navigate those waters is really special to me. And the first thing I tell widows and widowers is find your sense of community. Find people who you can be around that get it, who that if you have a meltdown in the middle of dinner, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, but it's going to happen. And just find friends that allow you to deal with the emotions and the grieving that you're going through. So one of the first things I found was a community like Camp Widow and Soaring Spirits. And I also have spoken at Camp Widow. It's an amazing organization, global, and they actually have this amazing group of widows and widowers, come totally diverse around the globe. And Camp Widow is one of their highlights. And very proud to be able to say I've spoken twice now at Camp Widow on the
Mm.
7 steps to healing after loss.
That's awesome. Well, for people who don't know, do you mind to just explain a little bit more about Camp Widow and what they do and then the Wings for Widows?
Yes. So if you Google soaringspirits.org, you'll see the organization led by Michelle Hernandez. And it's an amazing organization. You can join for free. And Camp Widow, they have Camp Widow in Tampa, Camp Widow in San Diego, and Camp Widow in Toronto, along with Australia and other global pop-ups. And it was an amazing community to be able to walk into to a hotel with 200 to 400 other widows and widowers who get it. And it was just amazing. You just started talking to me and tell me your story and tell me your story. And there were widows there from 3 months newly widowed to 10, 15 years widowed. And to see everybody in each avenue, each path of their life was truly inspiring to me and helped me realize that there are many paths to post widowhood, to finding purpose in life part two. There's many paths that you can do that. And finding the community can allow you to do that is to me was the number one key thing that I did.
Yeah, I think community is such a great point because there are a lot of different communities that are out there. And I have the Brave Widow community, and there's Facebook groups and communities, and all sorts of Modern Widows Club, like all sorts of different communities. I think one of the key things is to find one that's the right fit for you. We've
Mhm.
had folks part of groups where people really promote hollow and risky behavior in how people should deal with grief or how they've deserved things or earned things or whatever. And I just know that's a hollow promise that's only going to lead in people getting hurt, which you'll see the same person post a few weeks later about how it's painful, or being
Yes.
in groups where people are just so negative and overwhelmed and depressed. And so finding that right community, to your point, is a great way in trying to move forward, not move on, but try to have a good support system around you so that you can start rebuilding that life.
Yeah, so true. And the negativity in some of the groups is really astonishing because you're going through enough with every single thing in your life is different. Everything single thing is shattered. And to deal with everybody else's negativity is just a drain on your and energy.
Yeah.
And it's not right. And some of them are like dating groups. And you have to be careful with being prey because widows are often at risk of being preyed on. It's been known throughout for centuries. And so you have to be really careful out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. So, what are some other things that you would tell people as they're trying to figure out maybe different pieces of rebuilding their life, or what are things that they should consider? What else did you find was really helpful for you, or you've seen that's been helpful for other people?
The second biggest thing to finding community is absolutely self-care, and self-care from grief massage to taking care of yourself internally, making sure you eat right. And a lot of widows and widowers would say, "That's just me. I'll just have popcorn tonight." And I realized early on that if I didn't cook for myself, that I would continue to feel terrible, and the brain fog, the widow fog, would never lift. And so I started making sure that I took care of myself food wise and ate healthy. And it really did help the energy go through the roof as well as lift the widow fog. And it really helped me want to embrace life again. So self care is so important, whether it's eating right. I also took up meditation, which really helped calm my monkey brain. I never thought that meditation was my cup of tea, but it really helped calm my emotions down and also deal with the emotions as well. So meditation and definitely sleep. Sleep was the biggest thing that stunk after Dave died. I mean, 30 years in this bed with someone every single night, even though I traveled for work, he traveled with me. It was the hardest thing to get over. So what do I do first? Do I buy a big body pillow? Do I sleep in the middle now instead of on the same side as I always did? Do I sleep on his side? It was one of the biggest changes I went through is sleep and getting good sleep again. That took a while.
Yeah, sleep was hard. I mean, I had insomnia for a long time. And I remember one night I was putting together a nightstand at 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. I was just like wired. I wasn't even tired. I would get tired during the day, but that is really tough in figuring which side of the bed do I sleep on? Do I use a pillow? Do
Yeah.
I take one of their shirts? Do I spray their cologne on
Yeah.
it? Yeah, like that's very hard. So, eating as part of self care, I know I was very much, I ate horribly. I gained weight. And I don't know why I would say this when Nathan was still here. I would say, if anything ever happened to you, I'm basically just going to be eating pizza rolls all the time. And I haven't been eating pizza rolls, but it's not been anything good. So now, obviously, I always make sure I cook for my family and things like that. But when it's just you, I guess you just feel like, what's the point? Why am I putting
Yes.
this effort in? I don't feel like doing anything. And this is just going to be
Mhm.
another thing that takes that energy. So,
And that's the subtitle of the cookbook. It's cooking for one, two, or 20. And being Italian, we cook for 20 every Sunday. 20, 25 people sit down dinner every Sunday. And when it was Dave and I always cooked. And then it became, now what? How do I cook for one? And it was a hard adjustment to go through. And cooking for one is really like cooking for two, except you have leftovers. So that's the good thing.
right. Yeah, that is good. And I'm glad that you really mentioned that, because I think people do struggle. And then you have the people, some widows that have kids. And so maybe they need the bigger portions.
Yes.
Maybe they need more like 10 or 20.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. Well, what are some things that people just tend to have the hardest time with, or the most questions about, or the problems that you really try to help solve for, like the
Yeah.
cookbook that can help people rebuild that second part of their life?
So I'm doing a lot of webinars, doing them almost monthly, and on topics like sleep, on topics like meditation, on topics like joyful movement. And so I'm doing monthly webinars. I've got the replays out on my YouTube channel as well. And I'm speaking a lot, I'm doing a lot of podcasts and speaking a lot on the 7 steps to healing. And you can find these on my website as well. But, to me, being a grief coach, a health coach, is really being able to help heal the person as well as help overcome the grief process and help them along the grief journey. So that's become one of my passions. And so you can find a lot of that on my website at mariescottwellness.com. And I'm sharing a lot of information. I've got a couple of ebooks and reports out on my website. And there's so much that I feel like I can help with. And those are some of the key areas, especially food and self-care, taking care of yourself. And then the biggest that I'm getting the most questions for, I feel like I've become a quasi dating coach. And it's so funny. It's so cool to be able to say, widows have a lot of love left. And if you're ready to say, I'm not going to just curl up and die, then I can help them find safe ways to meet new people safely. And one of my favorites, I've got to report top 10 tips to dating safely. I came up with an 11th and a 12th. And the 11th was the coolest thing I saw on a short reel. It was go to Starbucks, just get yourself a coffee, put your phone in your pocket and sit down on the couch and just enjoy a coffee, enjoy life and smile. You never know who might sit down next to you on the sofa. So the old saying, a smile begets a smile, is so true. And that's kind of how I met Jeff. We were out at a restaurant and it was amazing, just amazing connection, eye to eye. He smiled and I smiled and the rest is history. And it was the best quarantine ever, but that's another story. And so the 12th tip, I've got 10 tips. And then the 12th tip was something that came up last time. My dear cousin, who'd been divorced for a while, she brought her new partner to a family get together. I said, what do you mean new partner? Who is this guy? And I said, where did you meet him? And she said, I've known him for 20 years. And so it came to me that Facebook stalking is totally socially acceptable. Not stalking, but finding old friends on Facebook and finding them on social media, maybe sending a re-engaging is a great way to meet people that you may have lost touch with 15, 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. And even I actually have had some good luck with Facebook dating, just being
Oh,
able to
wow.
find a lot of friends. So you can see
Yes.
who you know that you have in common. That's a mutual connection. And I think that's great. And to me, being widowed, I went to a live event just a couple of weeks ago and everyone was talking about how I loved being a wife and I loved caring for my husband. And
Yeah.
now I felt like that was so much of who I am. So they do have a lot of love left in there. So what would you say? We talked a little bit before we recorded about people that they're just 3 months out and they're interested in looking at dating, or people that are further along that aren't. When is the right time? Like, how do people know it's the right time to think about dating and having another relationship? What would you say?
Yeah. So when you first start thinking about it, that's when the right time is. And I remember I was in Charleston at the time where Dave and I lived, and I started a meetup group called Widowhood Sucks, especially after 50. And we got up to be 100 people. And we would just get together and go out to dinner, and we'd go for a walk in the park or do social things like bowling. We do fun things. And to me, that was a great, safe environment to meet people with like interests. And so that group was amazing. In fact, my first kiss in 35 years came from a guy in that group. Melted my socks off. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. But Meetup is a great way to not just meet potential dating partners, but also to meet other people who like to do the same things you do. And so when I moved to Sarasota, I found a golf meetup group. I found a group of walkers that walk the Ringling Bridge every Monday. And that was like 4.5 mile round trip. And so just people getting together. So maybe it's not about dating, but maybe it's just about finding new people, being around new people, and perhaps sparking a love interest. I know my friend Kim, widow, I knew about 2 years from Camp Widow. She connected with a hiking group and met a man there who loved to hike, and they found out they're from the same town, and it was just incredible. It's been 2 years for them now, and they've hiked around the world. They just got back from a hiking trip in Canada, and just an amazing story. And she told me, she said, if it wasn't for you and your inspiration and telling me about Meetup, this wouldn't have happened to me. So that made my heart smile. So there are ways to get out there without having to go to a dating site, because that can be kind of creepy.
Yeah, it can be. And I joined a few groups and I also stocked Home Depot for a while. Can't say I had much luck there, but I do think
Yeah.
just like you said, just putting yourself out there. I've heard people say you might meet your gateway person. So maybe the person that you're meeting, male or female, isn't the person you're going to end up dating, but they know someone who could be. So they could introduce
Exactly.
you, they could connect you. So I always thought that was a really interesting concept, because for us introverts, we don't really like going out and meeting a whole bunch of people we don't know. But if we think about it as in making good connections and relationships and there's a purpose to it, I think that can help people gain the confidence.
Yeah. And also networking. It's funny, everybody knows a widow or widower, whether it's family or friends. And just networking with your people that you already know is a great, safe way to meet people. Just letting them know, hey, I'd like to have dinner with somebody. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. I just want to meet new people. So that's a
Yeah.
great way, great, safe way.
That's a great point. Or just somebody to go to the movies with, or
Yeah.
yeah, somebody to do stuff with. So what are some other things that typically pop up? Do you see that people find new hobbies? Do you see that they kind of rediscover who they are? What do you see?
So one of the funniest things happened when I was talking about the seventh step of healing, and it's in my book as well. It's find new purpose. And so we had a workbook we were going through. And I said, okay, how many people have new hobbies or old hobbies that you want to resurrect? And so people would raise their hand. I'm going to get back into painting. And this other woman said, I got back into singing. She said, it's funny, I've been singing at church for 3 years and they haven't noticed me yet. So that was funny. But the best was this woman got up from the front row, grabbed my microphone, and started belting out the national anthem. She goes, I'm going to get back into singing. And she had a beautiful voice.
Wow.
So painting, singing, for me, it was writing, journaling. There's many ways you can think of things you used to enjoy before or during your marriage that can really help you find new purpose. Another one for me is cooking. And that's what led me to start the cookbook. And just there's so many different ways, whether it's old hobbies or finding new hobbies, taking a course. Like I took a course on becoming a functional medicine health coach, and that was very rewarding. I was thinking it was just to learn more about food, and it turned into my life transformation. I turned into finishing this book and writing two more. So take a course and don't be afraid. I'm a lifelong learner to begin with. So learning new things is always, I love it.
Yeah, I do too. And for some people, it's hard because you're not good at something new. If you take a new course, or I started picking up hand lettering, and it was really terrible at first. And now it's not great, but it's not terrible. But you have to be
Yeah.
willing to not be good at those things as you're
Yeah.
taking those courses. If you don't try to discover what those new interests could be, then you'll never know. So, one
Exactly.
question I thought of about your cookbook that I did not ask is, are these hard recipes? Because some of us were very spoiled and our husbands did 95% of all the cooking. So my first 6 months, I was BFFs with the crock pot. But
Yeah.
tell me, in your cookbook, can an amateur do this?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll leave you with two tips. One of them is every probably 3 or 4 days, I will prep a big square glass dish, and I will cut up peppers, radishes, cucumbers, cut up celery and radicchio. So I always have all the ingredients ready to make a salad. And if you think about a salad, and I eat everything organic. So I've got all the ingredients to make a salad. And if you add protein to it, you've got a meal. So leftover chicken from the prior night. I love a can of tuna on top, wild caught tuna. So you've got an instant meal just by having this bowl of veggies prepped. You can also make a soup with it. Buy a rotisserie chicken, and you've got all the ingredients to make a soup. So taste some celery and add the rotisserie chicken. So another really easy recipe. They're all easy recipes. Another one of my favorites is chicken piccata. And you basically saute chicken. You sprinkle some lemon on it, a little white wine, a little butter, and capers. And that is chicken piccata. So all the recipes are easy, they're healthy, they're delicious, gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, and it's just I'm up to about 80 recipes now, and it'll be a book of recipes that can easily scale and that will always give you leftovers for the next day.
Perfect. I love it. I mean, if a newbie can do it, and if I can learn how
Yes,
to cook, I'm sure pretty much anyone can. And, life is overwhelming when you're first widowed and you're just
yes,
trying to survive at that point.
yeah,
So keeping things simple. I loved your idea of having the ingredients ready and being able to
yeah.
cook meals where you have a meal for the next day. So if you don't feel like cooking or whatever, you have that available to you. So I think that's great.
And a lot of the recipes are also freeze really well. Like I have a chicken champagne recipe that freezes really well. So you can make a big batch of it and you've got meals in the freezer ready to go.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I do love that. Well, anything else that comes to mind for people as they're rebuilding, or any maybe pitfalls to watch out for?
Pitfalls, a lot of pitfalls. And I think about healthy relationships and unsubscribing to negative friends and family. And you've got them. There's always somebody in the family. I can't handle this. I'm going through enough myself. And especially well meaning friends who say, oh, I know exactly what you're going through. I'm going through the same thing. My guy travels. No, that's not the same thing. And just unsubscribing to the negativity around you and trying to have peace with yourself and know that if you want it, you can see the light again and embrace life again. So I think the biggest pitfalls can be the people around you, family around you. And as long as you know that and can set boundaries, you can embrace embrace life again.
I love that. Yeah. Boundaries, I think, is a big one. And it's hard because your close family and friends that you expect to be there for you a lot of times aren't. And you may have other people that step up, but it's hard. It's hard to let go of or put some boundaries or even just some distance in between some of those people that you've been so close to for so long.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's why finding community is so important, so that you can find new people that to hang around with and also make new friends with. And maybe that'll spark finding new hobbies.
Yes, yes, totally. Well, Marie, tell everyone again, just where's the best place that they should go to find you, if it's your website or social media. And I know you have some things that they can download for free. Maybe give another example or two of that. And then, of course, all the links that you send over, we'll make sure get put in the show notes. So if people are driving or cooking or mowing or whatever, you'll be able to go back and look at that. You don't have to write it down.
So one smart thing that my dear friend told me was, go get all your real estate. 3 years ago when we started the business, go get all your real estate. So I am Marie Scott Wellness all over social media. And my website is the great place to start. You can download my top 10 tips to dating there. Also, you can download the first chapter of my book for free on the website. And also my YouTube channel has a lot of fun recipes and some cool videos. And also I just did a webinar last month on sleep, and that's also out on the YouTube channel. So each of the webinars I try to do also on YouTube. So that one's about 15 minutes, and it was very well received and a lot of good tips in there. So definitely my website, Marie Scott Wellness, YouTube, Scott Wellness, and my private Facebook group is Happy and Healthy After Widowhood. And it's a vetted, verified Facebook group. You have to note your partner's date of death, and I verify everybody. And so it's a safe group that I share a lot of cool stuff in that group as well. And I've got a retreat coming up in Florida. I've got spots for 6 women, and that's going to be in Punta Gorda, and that's on my website as well. So first week in December.
Awesome. I love that. And you've got so many resources and things going on to help widows. I love just the service and the generosity and trying to make a positive impact through the experience that you've had. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing some insights and some cool tips. And we'll make sure that people have links to the resources so they can find them.
Thanks, Emily.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the Brave Widow podcast. I would love to help you take your next step, whether that's healing your heart, finding hope, or achieving your dreams for the future. Do you need a safe space to connect with other like-minded widows? Do you wish you had how-tos for getting through the next steps in your journey, organizing your life, or moving through grief? What about live calls where you get answers to your burning questions? The Brave Widow membership community is just what you need. Inside, you'll find courses to help guide you, a community of other widows to connect with, live coaching and Q&A calls, and small group coaching where you can work on what matters most to you. Learn how to heal your heart, find hope, reclaim joy, and dream again for the future. It is possible. Head on over to bravewidow.com to learn more.